What's up, everybody? Clinton Foshee here, and
I'm Albert Chavez.
And this is Front Porch Chronicles. And this week, we have a legendary guy inside and outside the octagon doing big things, putting good vibes out into the world. We have Jared Flash Gordon. Thank you so much, brother, for taking the time to come on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it. So we'll kind of jump right into it. One of the reasons that we wanted to start this podcast is to learn more about fighters than just, the MMA or UFC or Fight Life. So we kind of wanted to dive into a little more about Jared the person. Where are you originally from?
Queens, New York.
Yeah. So how was it growing up there? Was it what was your experience like?
So I was born in Manhattan. I lived in Nassau County, which is on Long Island.
Yeah.
For the first 13 years of my life. And then I moved to Queens, actually. So really, I guess you could say I was originally from Nassau, even though I was born in Manhattan. Whatever, I'm from New York. Yeah. So where I lived is like 30 minutes outside of Queens, 25 minutes outside of Queens. So right there. Growing up in Queens. So growing up in Long Island also was fucked up. It's a fucked up place in different aspects. Between Queens and Nassau, it was very different. So where I lived in Nassau was a town called Roslyn Heights. And it's on the North Shore of Long Island. It's one of the wealthiest tax brackets in the whole country. I went to school in a high school that was like rated number 1 high school in the nation for a few years. And everyone I went to school with was very well-to-do. So I went to school with Howard Stern's kids. I went to school with owners of Cablevision. I went to school with the owners of MTV, the owners of WB11. My wife, I went to elementary, middle, and high school with my wife, and so she's a Gambino. There. So it was a lot of different, all white people, mostly white people, and they were either Jews or like Catholic, Irish, Italians. And like you figure growing up in a place like that would be good for a young person. It wasn't for a lot of people because of the access we had to everything. We had access to everything and anything. Everyone had a fucking BMW or a Mercedes when they were 15, 16, driving to school. There was a student parking lot, kids driving Bentleys and shit to school, and everyone had money. So, you got kids, young kids, even when we were, 10, 11, 12, 13, everyone had thousands of dollars. You got kids that had bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, and, they would get bar mitzvah, they get $100,000 as
wow.
Like you got kids with loads of money. Their parents have loads of money. So when they get in trouble, they get out of trouble very easily. So like, as we got older, our access to drugs and alcohol was like unlimited. So easy to get drugs and alcohol. I mean, I was 13 at the time, 12 or 13, and I was selling weed in this area, which is like considered one of the wealthiest areas in the country. So I had a fucked up childhood, even though I grew up with a silver spoon in my mouth. My dad did very well. He's a blue-collar guy, but he did very well for himself. Real businessman, owned real estate, owned a company in the city that was a wholesale hardware company. So he was a blue-collar guy. He did a lot of, manual labor coming up, and, he turned it into a $1 million company, and him and my uncle did very well for themselves. So we were able to afford to, the house I grew up in had, 7 bathrooms and 7 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms. And, we had a huge pool and fucking 6 living rooms. Like, what the fuck? So, we had, 5 cars. There was only 2 people that could drive. Like, why do we have 5? Why do we have 5 cars? So I had everything I ever wanted and needed. But that money also, like I said, gave us access and, it didn't give me like things that I needed. So as I grew up, when I was really young, my parents would send me to sleepaway camp. Me and my older brother, get rid of the kids for the summer, so they can fucking party or whatever, have fun. They were young at the time, they were still in there. When I was 7, 8, my parents were 35, 36, So they were, I'm about to be 36 in a few days. So I don't even have
early
kids.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. I don't even have kids yet. So like, I could imagine when they were like, they had 2 kids, they were probably like, we got to get these kids the fuck out of here, So they sent us to sleepaway camp. And the first year was great. The second year, I was sexually assaulted by a male counselor there. And so like, it was super expensive to send us away for the summer, 2 months, 2 kids, it's cost thousands and thousands of dollars. But that luxury also led me to being fucking abused, So I came home from summer camp, fall time came, I turned 9 years old, September 6th, school started. And shortly after that, I was 9, I started smoking weed, doing stupid shit, drinking beer, just being like a stupid kid. Now I could see that I was, self-medicating. I didn't want to feel the way I was feeling. And then that's how it, started for me. I grew up and, all the kids I knew were scumbags. Real dirtbag kids, like all the like wealthy kids that were all like bad kids. And we were getting in trouble, man. We were getting in a lot of trouble, fighting, getting arrested for assault, fucking selling drugs, stealing shit, kids getting into car accidents, DWIs, kids are dying from overdoses and, car accidents because, they're wild young kids driving around wasted in their fucking Mercedes. They're crashing into people, killing other people.
And they knew they could get away with it.
Yeah. And then like their parents would, here's $100,000 for a lawyer, So, and then when I was 13, my father's business blew up, literally exploded on Father's Day, and it killed 3 FDNY guys, and it injured like 60 other people.
Oh, wow.
So it was like it decimated my family and the business, and my father lost millions of dollars. And so we couldn't really, not that we couldn't afford to live there anymore, but it just didn't make sense for us to live. My dad was paying like $28,000 a year in taxes, property taxes, to live where we were. Yeah. And that's just 2001. So right before 9/11, this happened. So my dad was like, we're moving to Queens. So
were you like, what?
Yeah, we moved to Astoria, Queens, which was the complete opposite from where I lived.
Yeah.
Very urban, lower middle class area. And I went to school, a whole new environment. I went to school in Queensbridge, like down the block from the projects. So it was a whole culture shock for me. And so it was very different. But, we made do. My dad rebuilt the business, whatever. Everything worked out for him. But I kept going down, and my older brother as well kept going down the road we were going down. We were, we didn't do well in school. I mean, I did graduate, but we just didn't, we didn't go to school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I got up in the morning, I'd have to walk to the subway, get on the subway to go to high school. I'm fucking 13, 14, 15.
I was going to say, yeah.
I didn't go to school. I said, fuck this. I'm fucking going, and I would meet my friends and we'd be like, let's go to one of your houses. So my parents are my mom was home. My mom was like a at-home mother, but all my friends' parents, they lived in, like apartments or in the projects, whatever. And their parents, had to work. So their houses were open.
Open. Yeah.
So we would go get in trouble, smoke weed, do stupid shit, have fun, whatever. But if I didn't move to Queens, I wouldn't have found MMA. So I started getting older. I graduated high school. And I'm like really going down the wrong path. Drinking, drugging, a lot of other drugs now, cocaine, all the other drugs. I'm selling drugs. That was like my thing. I was sold drugs. So
Do you think that whole time that was you? When did you come to the realization of you using those things as self-medicating for what happened?
Oh, when I was young. By the time I was 13, I would be hanging out my window, smoking weed. I would have like liquor in the morning in my shower before I went to school. I'd be drinking fucking liquor like an alcoholic. And then, anything I could get my hands on, I would do. And we had access to everything. So coke, whatever, ecstasy, all these other drugs. And so that's like what I was doing. I graduated high school. I find MMA and I fall in love with it. 17 years old. And I wrestled and boxed as a kid, so I had a knack for it already. And 4 months later, I had my first amateur fight. I was 17.
Wow.
That escalated quickly.
Yeah.
Fell in love with the sport, but I was also falling in love with opiates. So I hurt my neck training. Excuse me. So I'm at the bar. I'm like 18. And I'm with my buddy, and I'm like, oh, my fucking neck is killing me. And he's like, oh, you want a Vicodin? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I take it. I have a drink, smoke a joint. And I remember going home and like laying down on my bed and just this warm blanket of Jesus. That's what it felt like. Came over me, bro. I don't know if you guys have ever done opiates.
Never, won't do it. Yeah.
Yeah. He said no.
Yeah.
And that was it, man. I found it. So that progressed. Within weeks, months, I'm eating 20, 30 pills a day. And then I found OxyContin. I was eating Vicodin, Percocets. I found OxyContin. I started taking those, and those are like very high-powered narcotics. I started snorting them. I started smoking them. And then eventually I find heroin. I start shooting heroin, start shooting coke and crack. But really at the end for me, like I really just wanted to shoot coke and heroin. Loved it. And whatever. So from 20, I started shooting heroin when I was 21. I started using the needle. From 21 to 27, I was in and out of treatment like 13 times. I got arrested 8 times. I was facing 25 to life at one point. Beat that case, thank God. Crisis centers, homeless shelters, therapeutic communities, psych wards. I said psych wards. I ended up in the psych ward like a fucking... Psych ward was like my second home. And so between 21 and 27, I was in about 33 or 34 different facilities, including jails, all the other institutions, and I was panhandling, I was doing crazy shit. But between all that time, like I would catch like 6 months sober or like a year and a half sober, and then I'd relapse. Then I'd get sober and I'd relapse. But in those times of abstinence, I would fight and I would win. So I was able to compile a record of like 9-0 or some shit, or 9-1. And I was 27. So like, I just came to a point where I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just sick and tired of this.
Sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah, I'm going to die because at this point, I'd already overdosed numerous times. I beat 25 to life in prison. There was only one place for me left, or two: jail, prison, or death. There's only I can only handle so much. So I decided, all right, I'm going to get sober, and I've been sober since. I overdosed on Christmas Day 2000 or Christmas Eve 2015. I woke up in the hospital on the 26th, so like 2 days later or whatever, or 3 days later. I was dope sick as shit. I fucking ripped the IVs out of my arm, left the hospital in the middle of winter in New York, in Queens, barefoot,
Ooh.
with just a hospital gown and a pair of jeans and socks. I walked home, knocked on my parents' door, and they were like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And I was like, "I just need like a hoodie and a pair of sneakers." And they gave it to me. I got high one more time because I was really sick. And then I went to detox, and that was it. I haven't gotten high since that day.
Wow. That's
I
crazy.
mean, obviously, there's a million things that happened between that, which like I could literally fucking go on and on and on with the stories that I have, the near-death experiences, the this, the that. Somehow I'm here.
God's plan, bro.
That's crazy, man.
God's plan.
He's
You know,
a fucking funny motherfucker, that guy.
I had a similar experience. Mine was a little bit younger. Was my cousin who sexually assaulted me, and similar to you, I was a hothead as a kid. I would fight everybody. My uncle was a career prisoner who lived with us. I would in fifth grade, pull off of his stash whenever he would get drunk and high and pass out and be selling at school. Similar to, there was marijuana was something I never really got into hard drugs, but marijuana, anything that I could do to escape. So I jumped from relationship to relationship, woman to woman. Women were my drug and my way of numbing or not dealing with, what happened to me. And I was chasing every way to not deal with it until finally, I got into therapy later in life and was able. So I met Mike Tyson one time, and we had a conversation at his house, and I said, for a long time I've seen so much chaos. Besides just being sexually assaulted, my dad beat me. He was mentally, physically abusive. And I said for a long time, it made me question God. It made me question why me. It made me question my faith. I always wanted to be a Christian. I always wanted to come to God, but I also was like, it was kind of like thing after thing, somebody dying, my grandmother dying of cancer, my daughter's mom dying of cancer. It was just thing after thing after thing after thing. And he told me something, and this is something that makes me think of you and your story. He said, God gives his toughest times to people that he knows can survive it and be a light to others. And I don't know if you know this, but because it's hard for people like you and me to feel like we're actually doing something that's going to help other people because we never feel like we're good enough. But what you're doing, you don't know how many times that you've posted something or I've seen your story and that it's brought me some sort of peace. So kudos to you, number one, for stopping and changing your life. But number two to that, thank you for being a light to so many people in this world that need it, because there's a lot of men who aren't comfortable enough to talk about, especially being sexually assaulted. When I first started talking about, I had hundreds of people inboxing me like, man, this happened to me, but I never felt comfortable because as men, we're taught that we're not supposed to talk about feelings and emotions. And then as men, we feel like, I know for me, I felt like I deal with fighters. I was an amateur fighter. I deal with jiu-jitsu guys. I deal with all these people. I was like, man, if I come out and say a male sexually assaulted me, are people going to think I'm gay? Are people going to think I'm this? Like there was so many things, but then it was like kind of like AA or NA or anything until you can actually release it and say, hey, this happened to me, but I'm going to break these chains of silence. It began to heal me. So, like I said, thank you for you having the courage to come forward. There's a lot of people that you're helping save their lives.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, it's a tough subject, obviously. Men don't want to talk about how they were taken advantage of, and which I get, but I've always been like an open book, and I don't really give a shit what people think. So
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, it's
I have kind of a personal question. So my dad was also sexually assaulted as well too. So I've had other conversations about this too. And Clinton shared with me a bunch. And so I guess for like people that haven't gone through something like that, but I guess just on a general landscape of like pushing through adversity as a general topic, when you are in that long stretch of whatever time it is to feel like you're at your lowest, did you have other people and did you ever talk about it with people during that time frame? Just because sometimes it's hard, especially as men, to want to reach out for help. Can you kind of explain about that process and like how you went about that, just for people in general to kind of get an idea, like, hey, even when I'm at my lowest too, I can lend a hand?
So, I mean, you're talking about specifically about the assault.
Not necessarily, just the general aspect, but if that is something you're open to talking about, that could
So,
be,
I mean,
yeah.
when it came to my addiction, it wasn't a fucking secret. Everybody knew I was not in a good place. There was no hiding it. But it did take, a certain point where I had to just ask for help because I was a grown man already at that point. So no one's going to help me but me. Yeah, people can assist with helping me, but they can't force me to go get help. And that's the only time that it worked, was when I finally was willing to accept help, take suggestions, go to treatment. I went to detox and treatment, therapy, and then AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous. I'm in different fellowships. But when it came to the assault, I actually didn't tell anyone until I was 23. And it was my now wife. So
oh wow.
I've known my wife since we were 6 years old.
Oh,
And we started dating when we were 18. And then I started shooting heroin. So she broke up with me. We separated for a while. But when she left me, I came out and told her. She's like, "Why are you doing this? Like, what are you, hiding from? Like, why are you, you have a great life. You're a pro fighter. Like, what are you doing?" And I kind of use it as like a pity thing. Like, oh, pity me. Like, this is why I'm fucked up. But that was the first time I told someone. And of course she went and told my parents. So it was all out in the open at that point. And then, but that helped because once I was able to speak about it, I was able to receive help, accept help for it. And that's when it started for me. I was in a long-term treatment center. I was in something called the therapeutic community. I was in upstate New York. I was there for 6 months. And that was when I started working on it with a therapist. So that was fucking 12 years ago already. And like I look back at that place, it was crazy. There was 250 people there. It was 190 guys and like 60 women. And everyone was from like Queens or Brooklyn or the Bronx or Manhattan, Staten Island. And it was a bunch of fucking psychos. But like that place really taught me a lot, man. All my roommates, I had 3 different roommates that I was there the whole time with for 6 months. And they're all dead.
shit.
Wow.
All from drugs or whatever else.
Wow.
But they became my close friends.
Yeah.
2 of them, we became really close. One went crazy shortly after that, and he's dead. But the other 2, we actually became really close. Like one of them started training MMA with me, had an amateur fight. I got to know his parents. We got really close, and he died of a fentanyl overdose like 3 years ago. And then my other boy, Mike, from the Bronx, crazy gang member from like a blood, big time gang member. He was like 50 years old when he died, but he was like a kid. It was the weirdest thing. He was, if you saw him, you'd be like, "Oh, this guy's like 35." But anyways, he died last December of a fentanyl overdose also. But it's just crazy, like thinking back how long, 12 years already. But yeah. So, anyways, I don't mean to go on a tangent, but
No, you're not. I appreciate you sharing.
the best thing you can do is ask for help, accept help, and because obviously whatever you're doing is not working. Whenever I did it on my own, it never worked because I thought I knew what I was doing, but I had no idea. But once I turned the wheel over to God and started accepting help from people that have been there and done it, then my life started to slowly come together. And then within a year of getting sober, I was fucking shooting coke and heroin for months, for years. But that last run that I had, I was like super strung out. And a year later, I was in the UFC.
Wow.
So like,
Crazy.
when you are able, and this is the hardest thing for me still to do, is to have constant, unshakable faith, no matter what you're going through, deaths, money, financial stuff, career stuff, relationship stuff, whatever it is. If you can have unshakable faith and always give it to God and obviously put in work, then it will probably work out for you. But that for me is it's still the hardest. I've seen God change my life like multiple times when I asked for help and I did what I had to do and was obedient and was there for others and was a good person. I saw God change my life multiple times. And then when shitty shit happens, I'm like, fucking God, this guy's I'm supposed to believe there's some motherfucker in the sky. So I do renounce my faith often. And then I always end up coming back because it never works on my own. And I know he's laughing. He's like, you idiot. Once again, you're back. But yeah, man, I think you need to ask for help, accept help, talk about what's going on. Or if you're not comfortable, talk to it with someone that's just like a neutral party, someone that's like doesn't know you or your family or friends.
Let me ask you a question. When you do you think you unearthing what happened to you as a kid finally allowed you to say no to all of the drug use and stuff like that? Do you think that's what it was, that you could actually work on the root of it that released everything else?
Yeah, for sure. To a certain extent.
Yeah.
I think I still have work to do on what's going on inside of me. But I think when it comes to like drugs and alcohol, that's just a symptom of our real issues.
Right.
So for me, like when shitty stuff happens now, I don't think, oh fuck, I'm gonna go get high. I don't think about that at all. So like I used to have a drug and alcohol problem. I don't have a drug and alcohol problem anymore. But I'll always have a thinking problem. No matter what I do, how far I get. I'm wired to fuck shit up. I'm wired to throw it all out the window and to do crazy stuff. So I need to do something every day to give myself a daily reprieve from my disease, which is addiction, but I have plenty of other issues. But my disease, what you were saying, wants me dead. Like accepting help for the assault, whatever other traumas I've had. Then there's physical thing, pain. Like I have pain. I've had all sorts of issues that affect the way I think and live. So I got to do something every day to keep me from going back to that stuff. Although that's not my first line of defense anymore, is when something bad happens. I used to, when something bad happened, I would just cope with drugs and alcohol. Now I act out in other ways, you know, whatever. Maybe I'll go fucking gamble. Maybe I'll, you know, be like, now I just, when things happen, I just ruminate in my depression. And that's how I've always been for whatever reason. So luckily I have the tools to keep me from self-destructing. God, support networks, people that are sober, also my friends, all my friends are sober. Most of the people that I'm associated with are sober or know what I deal with. So they're there for me. My parents, my brother is also sober, he's also recovering IV drug user. My wife obviously knows my history. Her family knows my history. So like you need a support network. You need guardrails to keep you on the road. And that could be anything. I have a, you know, AA sponsor. I got meetings. Like after this, I'm going to do my marriage group and then I'm going to an AA meeting. And, you know, but at one point or another, it's just going to be you and God. Because like I've been in front of drugs in my sobriety where I was like, damn, that looks nice. And I'm like, but Lord,
Please.
please don't let me shoot this heroin. Like I walked into one of my buddies. I was 3 years sober. He was overdosed. He had a needle hanging out of his arm, like overdosed, and there was bags of coke and heroin everywhere. And my first thought was,
he won't know.
no, fuck, I don't give a fuck about it. So I'm gonna get high, you know, like this.
Yeah.
And then obviously I was like, wait a minute, I gotta save this guy. And yeah, I didn't get high, but like, so like, you know, at one point or another, things are only going to be at arm's length. You know, for you, it could be a woman.
Yeah.
Right.
I have problems with that too. When I got sober, I was on every dating app.
That's why I said the dating app, the struggle is real with technology these days.
I was swipe on everyone.
Yeah.
If I get a reply.
I do he's laughing because I said I do the same. I would do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm addicted to everything: drugs, women, gambling, fucking whatever. I'm addicted to exercising. I'm addicted to eating. I'm addicted to whatever you give me. If I do it, you know,
you're gonna do it to its best.
I'll probably get addicted to it.
Yeah, you'll extract everything.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm addicted to espresso. When I go to sleep at night, I smell my can of espresso, and I'm like, oh.
Can't wait to wake up in the morning.
Wait for tomorrow morning, man. It's so crazy, I know.
I don't think it's crazy. I don't think it's crazy at all, to be honest. Yeah. I think it's yeah.
The way we are, man.
Yeah. I like you, very addictive personality, and I think that's ingrained in us. Because of what happened at a young age. I think it ingrains something in us to make us addicted to. Very similar to you. I'm the same way, whether it's gambling, eating, espresso, walking. If I walk 1 mile, I need to walk 3 miles. If I walk 3, I need to walk 5. It's the same. It's this. Yeah. I'm trying to figure something out to get it. So let me ask you a question. I know you talk a lot about your faith. When was it and at what point was it that you knew you needed to kind of, and I know as a fighter, you hate to use the word submit, but submit to God's power and give it over to him? At what point do you feel like you knew that was what you needed to do?
I mean, when I first got sober, I started, like, I would use my friends that died as like my higher power, like my close friends, like, all right, I'm gonna do this for them because I know they don't want me to go out the way they did. And then after a little while, I mean, and it was always said from my AA sponsor, the guy that helped me get sober, or the guy that got me into my last treatment center, my guy Tommy, who I'm still very close with. He's got like 30 years sober or something.
Wow.
He's like, bro, you gotta have a higher power. Like,
yeah,
you need to hand it over to someone. because obviously whatever you're doing is not working. You need a power greater than yourself to restore you to sanity. So I always had that seed planted in me, like, all right, God. And like I would use my friends at first, I did as my higher power or part of my higher power. And then like as time went on, I realized like there's something more out there than just my dead friends. There's something bigger. And then like I eventually started calling him Jesus. It was hard for me at first to be like, my dad's a Jew, my mom's a Catholic Italian, a Sicilian lady. So like I grew up in a house where we were eating potato latkes and then we were eating pasta at night and we would celebrate, you know, Christmas, and then like we were at our friend's house for fucking Passover. So I was very like I didn't have God growing up.
Yeah.
But like AA really was like what brought me to God. And funny enough, like so the basic text of AA, the big book, is the second most published book ever in the world, behind the Bible.
Wow.
So like it's like a divine gift. I think AA was divine. Like if you read, I don't know if you ever read it, if you read the basic text for AA, it's a guide of living, just like the Bible or just like the Quran, and anyone can do it. Anyone can look at that book and be like, wow. And every time I read, I've read it dozens of times. Every time I go through it, I'm like, I catch something else. I'm like, wow. Like there's so many gems and gifts in there. Anyways, so yeah, that's how like when I finally got sober, when I went to that last detox center, December 2015, was when I was like, all right, God, if you're there.
That was crazy.
Whoa,
Is your dog's name God?
His name is Pacino.
Yeah.
Chino Gambino. So that's when I was like, all right, whatever I'm doing is not working. I guess I'll give it to you because I'm sick of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's powerful. For me, it's just crazy, like how you still made sure to implement it every single day. Like you have to have a daily regimen to make sure you don't get stuck on that. Specifically for me, I'm just curious on like, is there something that you have to do every day to make sure that you can be the person that you want to be for all your friends, your family, for God?
I mean, lately what I got to try to do, because a lot of crazy shit has happened to me in the last few years, like in the last year, 2 years specifically, where I have to give thanks. Like I got to be grateful. So like when I wake up in the morning or with my wife at night, we pray and we come always first with like being grateful, because you'll never be content if you're not grateful with what you have now. You're always going to want more.
Wow.
Like the fucking pieces of shit humans we are, you know, we're never content. We always want more money. You get this much money. Oh, I need more money. Every time.
True story. True story.
When I was younger, I thought if I had 20 grand, like I would be set for life, you know, when I was a kid. And then you get 20 grand and you're like, this is nothing, you know, like I need $20 million.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel now, unless I look back, as you know, take a step back and I'm like, all right, like I have a lot, way more than most people will ever have. And I've done things that people will never experience ever in their lives. Like most of the world will not. So yeah, being thankful, being grateful, thankful to God, you know, praying to God, like asking him to direct me today. Like, please direct my actions today, because if you don't, I'll probably do some crazy shit.
That's cool.
And then praying through the day. And then obviously, you know, I go to my meetings, my AA meetings. I speak to my sponsors, daily meditations. I have so many group chats with friends that are sober, and we're always talking to each other, praying for each other, you know, supporting each other. I have lots of friends that are business related, teammates. You know, we're always checking in with each other. So yeah, those are the things that I got to do every day. Otherwise, we'll never be content, man, and we'll never be happy. That's the key, is being happy. If I could just be content and happy, like every day with what I have, then I wouldn't really need to do anything else, because
That's the hard part. Yeah, especially being young. I've noticed that too with myself. I have to check myself because I always want to crave more.
yeah,
And obviously time is I have a lot of time, right? I feel like I do, but I also know it's very limited. It's like this weird little paradox that we have. And so it's like, how do I make sure that I just enjoy what is now and not always feel that need to, like you said, we're kind of piece of shit humans, but it's because we want something better for us. We want the future, but we need to like understand what we have now is like so limited. We don't know when it's going to be our last day.
yeah. Well, that's the problem too, is like when you think about the past, it gives you anxiety and fear, because you don't want bad shit to happen, because you've experienced pain and agony before. But like easier said than done, but like forget the past, because you can never change it, obviously. But forget the future too, because the future is just a made up reality in our heads, right? We don't know what's going to happen, and you can't control it. So like being present, to go with what you're saying, is like also so key. Like just be in the moment, be with your wife, be with your friends, stop staring at your stupid phone, like, which is also impossible for me to do. Also, is like I'm always looking for some sort of validation through something else, when I could get it from my wife, or I could get it from the things that I have. It's like, it's a daily struggle, especially for an addict. Like all I ever wanted was instant gratification. I used to shoot drugs because I knew it would immediately make me feel better. And now I have to just sit with my feelings, which sucks, but it's a necessary thing,
It does. One of the things that I really started doing that helped me is just letting, as I say, let go and let God. And I just tell people it's hard for me because I never think anything that I do, because I was told so many times I wasn't good. I was a, piece of shit, a failure, all of these things. So some of those things I can never get rid of. But one of the things I try to do is pray daily. And then I make a saying to myself, I'm going to try to be and do my best today and try to be at peace with that, which is hard. But I feel like the more that I tell myself that each day, the easier it kind of gets for me to start somewhat believing it. Because when you're told so many times something, like I was told 1,000 times I was not good enough. So I'm trying to tell myself each day 1,000 times that I am good enough, to rewire myself to do that. And that's just kind of what I've done. So let's kind of get into some of your MMA stuff. I know you.
No.
I know you. I know you. I know you train at Kill Cliff. We had Linton Vassell on. You got so many beasts like Michael Chandler, Vicente Luque, RoboCop, Robbie Lawler, Gilbert Burns. We're gonna have a Kevin Sweet Pea piece on the pod actually tomorrow. How did you choose that gym of all gyms?
So I've known Henry Hooft, the head coach, since I'm like 20 years old.
Oh, wow.
I came down here when I was young to get sober, like at a rehab. And when I left the rehab, I stayed down here for a while and was training with him. At the time, it was called Imperial Athletics. Eventually turned into Black Zillions. And then it went, now we've had 6 different names since then. But I actually got arrested in his gym right in front of him for a home invasion, robbery, felony battery. And I was facing 25 to life. That's when I got in trouble.
Oh, shit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my wife was living down here. So I moved back to New York. I trained in New York for years. Then I lived in Milwaukee for like a year and a half. I trained over there with Bilal and Paul Felder and the Pettis brothers and all those guys. And then me and my wife got engaged, and she was like, well, what are you going to do, live in Milwaukee? And I'm like, no, Milwaukee sucks.
Yeah, I was going to say, Milwaukee definitely sucks.
Terrible. So I moved down to Florida like almost 6 years ago now. So that's how, and then it was just a natural thing for me to go back to Henry Hooft.
How do you think that they have elevated your game throughout your career?
I don't know, dude. Great coach, good coaches, obviously. A lot of older guys, guys that have fought in the UFC for years, guys like Nick Lentz and Robbie Lawler, they're coaching. And a lot of the things that I've done on my own, but yeah, they definitely helped me obviously get to where I am. All my teammates, we have a world-class facility. So
yeah. Let me ask you, do you have a particular person that has kind of mentored you or that helps you along as a teammate or
I would say like equal parts from a few different people. I don't have like a mentor because by the time I got down there, I was already in like my 30s.
Yeah.
But Jason Stroud, one of the coaches, was my coach in New York when I was like 23. And he's cornered me in like 20 something pro fights.
Oh, wow.
So he's like one of my mentors, I guess I could say. But he's a coach there.
And it's good to have somebody steady with you that's been with you, the longevity that knows your whole story and that you can wholeheartedly trust. That's a big thing.
So what is it that to you most motivates you to continue wanting to go into the octagon and put your body through all that stuff? That like you have to do the weight cuts, you have to do all the daily training, along with all the stuff that you have to deal with personally.
Good question. I love competing, obviously. I love fighting. I love training. And I want to challenge myself. And I think I am one of the best in the world, or I know I am one of the best in the world.
I was going to say, I definitely feel like it.
I should be ranked right now. Should be on a 5-fight winning streak. And I should be 8-2 in my last 10 fights at 155, which is like
one of the toughest
to do in the UFC. If it wasn't for fucking Patty and my last fight, which I clearly won.
Both of them. Yeah. Both of them. Of them. Especially the last one. Just had to buy a new PS5 controller because when they came across and set it, it got slung across and like obliterated. Whenever they set it, I was like, bro, threw the controller like a frisbee. Yeah, I was.
So like, I don't know.
I mean, we saw the last fight. They got rid of the judge. I wonder if they're going to do that in the future too and hold him accountable.
Oh, well, what they should be doing is reversing my fucking.
I think so. And I just went to CGI, Craig Jones Invitational this past weekend, and they did something that was actually pretty cool. Between each round, they post what the score is, which I thought was pretty dope because going into the next round, you're like, okay, whether I got screwed or not is one thing, but at least now I know this second round I need to come out and do this, or at least this, because I think it sucks the reffing. It sucks because you don't know what is, do they want somebody grapple heavy? Do they want a striker?
The judging, not the reffing, but
yeah.
It's, honestly, like, it's really fucked my head up because I put my life on the line. Mm-hmm. I don't cut any corners. I do everything I got to do. I train my ass off. I go and win a fight, and then some guy takes it from me. Like, I clearly win.
Yeah.
And I get it taken away from me. So it fucks my career up, my record, and my finances. I should have a lot more money in my bank between those two fights. Yeah. And then who knows where that would have brought me. I get the Patty win.
That drives it to the roof.
Yeah.
I won the fight after that by
top 10. Yeah.
I beat Nasrat. Like, where would I be right now? in the rank. What kind of contract would I have? Way more money. Who would I be fighting next? What kind of opportunities would I be getting? I'm not 28 or 27.
Yeah,
35, about to be 36. So I have to have faith that some crazy shit happens. That like they're like, yo, we need someone to fill in. Short notice. I need someone that feels like because I'm pulling at straws right now. What are they going to do? Match me with some guy that no one fucking knows? I've been in UFC for 7 years.
I have a feeling I know this is nothing but more than words, but I have a feeling your day is coming, because when you keep putting good out into the universe, it's coming. I have faith and I believe. And I'm telling you, I know that seems like nothing, but I'm just telling you, the good that you keep doing and the good that you keep putting out into the universe, I promise you, your day is coming.
You know what goes through my mind.
Yeah.
When this shit, like, I'm at a loss for words.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's what I'm talking about, the unshakable faith.
Yeah.
Bro, you think that I was like, oh God, like, I know your plan is greater than mine after that shit? I'm like, fuck you, man. Like, these are the things that go through my mind. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? And like, they were like, the way that their reaction was as if they just won the world title. And I'm like, you just got gifted a decision. You should be, yo, I don't know, like, how, like, close fight, like, no. So I had to go back thousands of miles away from home. I broke my foot in 5 spots 2 weeks before the fight. I fought with my foot was a mess. Then I broke my medial wall. My face is like, and I'm in my room at the hotel, like in Saudi Arabia. I gotta be thankful to God for everything He's done for me. What the fuck are you? What do you mean you've done? So it's hard, man, to have that unshakable faith, especially when you go through crazy shit like that. But here I am, hoping and having faith that my dude Jesus is gonna pull through for me and pull some strings. Only time will tell.
Well, you're doing amazing. I know it probably fucking sucks, and we'll never know what's really, really going on in that head, you know?
No, you won't.
But still, you know, at least you're expressing it too. That's the hard part. Like, you could have bottled that up forever, and then you're just, yeah.
Yeah.
I know it doesn't mean anything, but also,
I mean, the whole world talks about
yeah.
it. After that Nasrat fight, like John Anik podcast, how the hell could he have lost that fight? And the Patty, so it's like
the Patty one, yeah.
Like in my head, I'm like, well, what did I do? Like, did I do something that bad to get screwed over this much? Like, why are these guys getting gifted decisions like over me? Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the past.
Yeah.
Well, I know you only got a few more minutes so you can go to your group, so we'll cut it short. I got one last question, and this one's deep if you need time to think about it. If today was your last day, what do you want Jared Flash Gordon to be remembered for?
I would like, just to be known that I've helped others that have dealt with the things that I've dealt with, and it actually made a difference. Even if it's just one person's life, then it's all worth it. And, I want to say I wish I could be remembered as one of the best fighters ever or some crit, but like, who really gives a shit about that? So, yeah, I mean, I want to be known as someone that's actually helped.
Well, I'll tell you this, and again, you're not going to think it in your mind, but for me, number one, great fighter, one of the best ever to do it, not gassing you up. I know you said you're brutally honest. If you think you're brutally honest, I'm either on the level or either more brutally honest than you, just the country version. But I am great fighter, one of the best to ever do it. And even bigger than just that is the man that you are. Like I said, not just one, probably thousands of people. If you wanted one, I can tell you for me, you've helped me through without even knowing it so many times to feel normal. And I remember to one of your posts and talking about your trials and tribulations and you staying steadfast and doing the right things. And I've got kids, and it made me really think about those things. And so there's been times that you've literally saved my life. So for me, man, I want you to know how powerful you are, not just as a fighter, but as a man and a person, and how grateful I am for you.
Wow. Thank you, man. That really means a lot. Seriously.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
I feel like I learned a lot what mortality is today, a little bit more about that and how short our lives are, and the fact that you were able to just go through every wrong thing and still doesn't matter like how big the detriment, how big the consequences are, and to be able to like just still pursue that and still want to do what you want to do, and just know like it doesn't matter what I'm feeling, you're still going to push through and do it no matter what. And even if you're questioning everything possible, you still show up. And that's what life is, right? Is showing up for what you believe in, even if you think that sometimes it's all against you. And I think that's been something that I've been able to take away from today. So thank you so much. We appreciate you.
We'll go out. I know you've got some different programs and services. Do you want to share those with some of the people? And then we'll also be putting them down in the link so that we can help get your message out and the programs to those people.
Yeah, sure. We have 6 different programs, 4 in California, 1 in New Jersey, which is called Wellness Recovery Center. Then we have 1 in Dallas, which is called Dallas Detox. It's actually a veterans program for military guys. Then we have Laguna View Detox, which is in Laguna Beach. And we have Marina Harbor, which I think is San Francisco.
Marina, yeah. Uh-huh. That's
And
by
then
Cal
there's
State.
2 other ones, and I don't actually remember their names because I don't actually, I'm not really affiliated with them, but they're all under the same company. So it's really just Wellness Recovery, Laguna View, and Dallas Detox are the 3 that I really rep. So,
awesome. We'll put those in the link. I know you got to get to your group with your wife. Like I said, thank you so much for coming on. Big fan, and keep in touch. If you ever need anything, I'll shoot you my number as well. Okay, yeah. If you ever need anything, brother, I'm here for you.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.